Hart and I did a Malachi Moreno recruit breakdown last week, and Malachi now has an official final 8 schools. Malachi Moreno, if you have not watched the previous video, he's a 7-footer, top 20 recruit in the class of 25, and the number 1 ranked center in the country. Really fun basketball player. State of Kentucky kid, plays with Indiana Elite with AAU stuff, and his final 8 schools are Kentucky, Indiana, North Carolina, Ohio State, Arkansas, Notre Dame, Iowa, and Louisville. Riley Davis is here to help us break this down. His team, North Carolina, is on the list. Riley, what did you say to me right before we clicked record about this list?
I said the list within the list is Kentucky, Indiana, UNC.
Feels that way.
I also might have made a Mark Pope joke, but I don't want the Kentucky fans to come after us.
Did I miss the Mark Pope joke? Did it go over my
Oh,
head?
I just texted you that if all UNC has to do is beat out Mark Pope, we're good. I'm sorry, Big Blue Nation. I'm just gonna repeat what Greg has been saying. We need to see Mark Pope win like a competitive recruitment to give him a little more credit.
Yeah, this would be the first. Just
Yeah, it
like
would be
any
big.
other
It's
recruitment he wins would be the first.
all right. Let's be nice to Mark. Mark's a good dude.
I like that Mark Pope is doing the Kentucky first guys. Like, he seems to have
hmm
really prioritized guys from the state of Kentucky, Malachi Moreno included. And I will say this, regardless of if he has landed big fish yet against any of these other big lists, I think he has a phenomenal chance to land all of these Kentucky kids. If you look at the guys he did bring in the first class of this team that he's going to have this year, like the late ad was a Kentucky kid. He kept the Kentucky kid that had originally committed under Cal. He's going to resonate with kids from that state because the program resonates with that state. So there's another guy we're going to talk about later in this video, Jasper Johnson, state of Kentucky kid. Mark Pope is prioritizing him. Your school's going head to head for both of them. Specific to Malachi Moreno, what do you think North Carolina's chances are?
I mean, he is the only like true center on their recruiting board for the class of 2025. They've been looking at some other skilled fours who maybe you could throw at the 5 in a pinch. Like Nico Bundalo is one of their more recent offers, who I think is 6'10, 6'11, but definitely more of a 4. So it feels honestly massive for UNC, considering its struggles in the portal this past year to land a big man. And it's part of why I'm so high on him, because my heels do not have a 7-footer who can dunk and block shots on the roster right now. And, I think that should be the pitch. I think if Malachi Moreno, regardless of who UNC brings back next year, I think he would be the best big man on the roster should he choose to go to Chapel Hill. Now, of course, you could say the same would be true of Kentucky, because Kentucky will lose both Amari Williams. I guess Brandon Garrison could be back. But Garrison's a former McDonald's All-American. He's probably hoping he can be 2 and done. You look at Arkansas. I know Arkansas wasn't on my original list within the list, but they're for sure losing Adu. Maybe a Visich goes pro after this year. And then Indiana, the other team we said was on the list within the list. Ballo is exhausted his eligibility after this year. So some of those teams that could emerge at the front should all be able to offer extended playing time early. Personally, I just really want UNC to get him because, again, he's the only 7-footer they've been looking at in this class, and they could really use a guy with his defensive aptitude, whether it's protecting the rim as the primary defender, secondary defender. They could use him as a lob catcher. So yeah, I'm really high on Malachi in general, and I think he's got a good chance to be 1 and done wherever he goes.
I like Malachi's game a lot. I completely agree. I could see him being a one and done. I spoke about this a little bit in the breakdown. He's very good. He's also not what I would typically expect from a number 1 ranked center in a class. To me, this
Mm-hmm.
does speak a little bit about how there aren't any elite bigs in the class of 2025. Class of 2025 is great. If you look at the top 10, it's all guards. It's all guards and wings, and they are awesome. They're fun. They're going to be great college players. So part of that is that, like, maybe in a normal year, Malachi would be like, the ninth or eighth best guy in a class. In reality, he's like in the late teens or even in the early 20s on these boards. This class is good. There isn't a great big. So if Malachi is like kind of not just for North Carolina, but for any of these schools, if he's like your only option, that would scare me because one, we hope he's a one and done. I don't think we know for sure what he'll be in college.
Right.
And two, as you know well from this offseason, North Carolina should probably have a backup plan when it comes to recruiting bigs. Like
Right.
Hubert has swung and missed on every big target for 6 months now.
Yeah, we don't need to rehash that, but I I agree with you. I would love for him to get an official visit on the docket soon to Chapel Hill. Yeah, honestly think you make some good points too about how he's not your typical one and done number one ranked center because I want to say I've seen him listed at 7-1 in some places. He's a pretty good athlete, but like who would you compare him to? Who's the number one center? Like if you compare him even to Jaden Quaintance from this past year,
Yeah.
Quaintance is only 6'9", but that dude can jump out of the gym.
Yeah.
Like everything he dunks so viciously. And you watch Malachi play, you see some of those the putbacks or the lobs that he catches, and he looks pretty bouncy. But yeah, I guess maybe he's probably more at least partially ranked where he's ranked because of how good his motor is, how active he is on the offensive glass, as opposed to just like these dominant physical skills you typically see from the top center in the class.
The appealing stuff with Malachi is like skill based too to me. Like he's a
Mm-hmm.
great passer and he has a little bit of a handle. Like he honestly kind of operates as if he has some ball skills, like he's a wing as a 7 footer. Like I think he's a great player. I think he's gonna be great in college, and I do think he will be a pro. It's just it is a clear distinction for me, especially when you start to contextualize it as like this is our guy. This is our because I think Kentucky believes this is their center. I think North
Right.
Carolina believes this is their center. And I think after Umar Bala leaves Indiana, they probably believe this is their center. And who knows what happens with Malik Renew. Out of the schools that aren't Kentucky, Indiana, North Carolina, is there any school that you're keeping an eye on this list? Notre Dame, Arkansas, Ohio State, Iowa, Louisville.
I mean, Arkansas is the easy pick just because of like Cal got most everybody he wanted in the portal this past year. He retained his freshmen as well. I don't think his recruiting chops are slipping. They have plenty of money to throw around. I would say like the true dark horse is Ohio State. When you look at what Diebler got two formerly touted recruits this portal cycle in Sean Stewart and Aaron Bradshaw. If either of those dudes have a big year, like if he unlocks Aaron Bradshaw and he plays like the top 5 prospect he was coming out of high school, that could be really appealing to Malachi. I mean, I don't know how far Columbus is from Lexington if you want to go the hometown connection or the proximity to home, but I would guess it's no more than a couple of hours. So yeah, Ohio State I would think would still be one to watch.
Yeah, Jake Diebler's been doing some things too. Like I got my eye on him, especially in the front court. Like he pulled Aaron Bradshaw and Sean Stewart, both like 5-star Malachi Moreno ranked players, even if they didn't really come to fruition in college in year one. The only thing I would say is roster fit wise, Bradshaw and Stewart could still be there.
Mm-hmm.
Now maybe you think one of those guys blows up and has a great year and ends up in the NBA, but that would scare me a little bit if I'm Malachi. I don't think he's going to end up at this school, but I do want to make sure we give some serious love to Notre Dame because this is a statement on Micah Shrewsbury to me. Like the fact that Notre Dame is even appearing on lists like this for some prestigious recruits is like a testament to the offensive system he has. And it's only a matter of time. I don't think it's going to be Malachi Moreno. I don't think it's going to be Trent Sisley, another guy who's considering Notre Dame. But at some point, Shrew's going to get legitimate talent to come fit that system that isn't his son as his second best player. And they're going to be awesome. Like what he did at Penn State that one season with no NBA players. I mean, Jalen Pickett's
Mm-hmm.
on a roster. He's going to be great. And it's fun for me to know that recruits are starting to take notice of that too.
Well said. Yeah, I mean we're both big fans of Shrews. I believe he's seems to be friendly towards sleepers in general, so we
Mhm.
love that. For Notre Dame, they at this stage though of the Shrews era, you probably just got to chalk it up as a victory that you're in consideration.
Yeah, 100% good
Shows you're
publicity.
building something.
All right,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you are technically qualified to answer this question, but I would normally ask for a prediction on where he goes at this point. Do you want to handicap it instead? Give me like a percent chance UNC, percent chance Kentucky, percent chance Indiana.
Mm-hmm. I feel like it's probably 60% chance Kentucky.
Really?
Yeah, I just think I know I made I got my Mark Pope jokes out of the way at the beginning, but it's probably going to be tough to get a Kentucky kid away from Kentucky,
Definitely.
regardless of who's coaching.
So I am game to call Kentucky the favorite here. I'll give Kentucky a 40% chance, but I don't think Indiana's far behind because if you look at what Indiana has done this offseason, they're going to throw serious money at Malachi. Like, that's been the whole thing. We have more money than you right now for you. And not saying North Carolina and Kentucky don't have money, but from what I know about how y'all have been operating, it seems most of the money has been going to transfer targets. And I don't know how far ahead you're signing contracts with high school kids these days. Indiana's doing that. Like Bryson Tucker is a McDonald's All-American that Indiana straight up got because they wrote him a massive check that nobody else would match. I think if Indiana makes the most lucrative offer to Malachi Moreno, there's a serious chance he ends up in Indiana. So I'll call it 40% Kentucky, 35% Indiana. What does that leave? 25%?
25% Carolina.
UNC? That feels about right.
Yeah, I'll take that.